Hi everyone! Today I want to chat about book trailers. Perhaps you've considered making book trailers with your students. It's very similar to a movie trailer, except of course it's going to advertise a book. And to create a book trailer, you will need to use some form of a video editor. So my choice is iMovie, and that's what I'm going to be showcasing to you today. But there are other choices out there that you could use. So let's get started. The first thing that the students need to do is to choose a book that they have read and that they would think other students would like to read as well. Then I have a planning sheet that I give to the students, and I will share this planning sheet with you in case you wish to use it with your students. The first thing that they do is they create a Google Doc in which they write the title and author of their book. Next, they think of a leading question or statement, and I give the students some examples. I suggest that their leading questions sound something like, have you ever questioned whether, or have you ever imagined, or imagine if, or what if? So a question's a good way to draw your audience in, or I suggest they write a strong statement that centers around the theme of the book. So I give some examples of those as well. Next, they list 7 to 10 interesting facts about the book without giving away too much information, and I suggest that they list their 7 to 10 facts around either characterization, settings, or the events of the story. And I always remind the kids, do not give away too much information. I'll show examples of this in a minute. The fourth step is to write 1 or 2 statements that persuade or convince your audience that this book should be read. So I give some examples of that. And lastly, I just say in your closure, you want to remind the people who are watching your book trailer to go to the local library to check out this book or get it in your school library. So what does this look like? Let me show you an example. So I created my example around one of my 5th grade students' favorite books, and that is My Teacher's an Alien by Bruce Coville. We start out with the title and author, as you can see. Next, I ask my leading question, which you can see is, have you ever questioned whether or not your teacher's from outer space? Then I centered my list around the main character. So imagine a substitute teacher that. And then I went on to say things that are surprising or interesting about my main character. So hates music, is very strict, doesn't believe in having fun, is from outer space. I then will do my closing statement, which, remember, that's supposed to draw your audience in and make them really want to read your book. So I did 2 of these. This book will make you question whether or not you can trust your teacher. My Teacher's an Alien will keep you on the edge of your seat. And finally, the last thing we need is just that reminder to check out this book at your local library. So I call this kind of the planning sheet, or some people call it story mapping, prior to creating the book trailer. Next, we're going to take a look at iMovie and how we can put our information into a book trailer. Alright, so let's open up iMovie on the iPad. When you do open up iMovie, all of your other projects that you've created will show up for you to see. And I've created quite a few iMovie projects. What we're going to do is right up here in the right corner where there's a plus sign, we're going to tap that to add a new project. And iMovie gives you 2 choices, movie or trailer. I let my students pick which one they want to do, and I show them both. With movie, you have a lot more control over the settings. You can change a lot of things. Whereas trailer, it's basically all set up for you. You just add in your pictures and text, and you have very little control over the settings. But the effects are really great. So let's start out by looking at movie first. Along the bottom, there are different choices that the students can watch and choose from. And I always tell the students, try to find one that suits your book. So if it's light and playful, playful might be a good choice for you. Or if it's a little more scary, you might find one that's a little darker and looks gloomier. But I let them just scroll through the different choices along the bottom and basically watch the demos and decide whether or not that particular video matches what they want to do. In this case, I'll pick the playful one. Since I have it on playful, I'm going to go right up here and click on Create Movie. And now it's going to open up my video editor. To begin with, I explain the 3 parts of the editor to the students. So I explain to them that right here is where you're going to get all of your videos, photos, and audio. I explained to them that this section right here is going to be your preview, where you get to watch your video as you create it. And right down here in the bottom, this is your timeline that shows all of your photos and videos and text and audio in a timeline and how it's being placed. Now before I add any photos into our book trailer, and my students just use photos. I don't worry about videos for these. To help ourselves out so that we aren't breaking copyright, we use an app called Drawing Pad. So I'm going to show you Drawing Pad. This app allows my students to create their own pictures to put into the book trailer. So it's as simple as you have a toolbar off to the right. You can then draw whatever you'd like with those different tools. So you have paintbrushes and colors and crayons and so on and so forth. There's also, if I scroll down here, you can see there's some stamps, and the students are able to put stamps if they apply to their story. If I hit the home button up at the top, which is right up here, it'll always take me back to my basic tools. And so through the use of this drawing pad, my students are able to create their own pictures to go with their book trailers, and therefore we aren't breaking copyright. One thing I do let the students do, though, is a Google image search for the book cover so that we can incorporate that into our book trailers at the beginning or at the end. Once my students have created the different pictures that match the text in their planning sheet, then they're ready to put those pictures into their iMovie. So what they do is they tap right up here where it says Photos, and it'll give them access to their camera roll. Remember, I also let them find a picture of their book cover on Google Images as well. And now what they can do is scroll through the camera roll and find the pictures that they want to add that they created. So for example, I have one picture here of the book cover. All I need to do is tap on it and it automatically adds it right to my timeline. I can scroll through and find other pictures as well to add, and by just tapping them, it'll add them right to my timeline. If my pictures are not in the order I want them to be in, it's as simple as touching them and dragging them to the order that you wish them to be in. And if for some reason you might get a photo that you didn't really want into your book trailer, what you can do is tap that photo once until it has the yellow frame around it, and then hit right down here in the bottom right corner there's a trash can, and when you hit that, it'll trash that photo. So let's imagine that the students have all of the photos they created into their timeline. The next thing is to add text on top of each of the pictures. So to do that, we simply touch once on the photo and it gives us that yellow frame. Right down here in the bottom corner you see a title. We're going to tap that and it will open up 3 choices for our title. Right now we have none, so we can have 3 choices, an opening, a middle, or a closing. By tapping those, it'll show us what the different texts will look like as far as their size and shape and placement. So if I click on opening, this is what it would look like. If I click on middle, it just looks a little bit smaller. And if I click on closing, it just looks a little bit different. It doesn't matter which one the students pick. When they're ready, all they have to do is go up and tap where it says title text here, and it'll bring up the keyboard, and then they can put in the title of their book. Then they would go ahead to the next picture, just tap on it to get the gold frame, and continue to add text throughout. The text, remember, is coming off of their planning sheet that they created at the very beginning. Here are a few settings that the students can change. One of them, if you tap again and get that yellow frame, is called the Ken Burns effect, which is a zooming effect. You can see if I go right here, it says pinch to position the start. In other words, I can pinch and move, which I'm doing right up here on this part in my preview, and I'm just pinching and dragging to move that picture where I'd like it to be at the start of when it starts playing in my video. Then if I click right here, I now can pinch and drag where I'd like it to be at the end. So I can move this, and perhaps by the end of it playing, I want it to show the 2 kids and the author's name. Now, to view this in action, I simply click this arrow right here, and it'll play that particular photo and how it will appear. Now, because I'm using Reflector app to show this on my iPad, it's not going to play as fluidly as it is on my iPad itself. And then, of course, they can go to the next picture, tap it, get their yellow frame, and add text to that one. Here's another feature the students can do. If the students tap right here, this is called the transition button, it will open up some choices that they have. The star means that it will transition in the form of whatever theme they've chosen. So as it goes over the transition and transitions from one picture to the next, it'll use the theme. This transition right here is just the default. Then they have 3 other choices that they could pick from as well. Each one is just a little bit different type of transition. So the students can play with that and see, like this one's going to just move it over slowly. and they could see which one they like. And one other setting that the students have control over is to either shorten or lengthen how long each of their photos plays. So if they tap it and get the yellow frame, all they have to do is click on the yellow bar and drag it either way to make it longer or shorter. And what's nice is it shows how long that is playing for as they click and drag the yellow bar, so they can see the actual number of seconds that it will play for. A few other things I wanted to show. Right here is an undo button, which also, if you tap and hold, can be a redo button, which is very handy for the students. And then the other thing I wanted to show is how to add music to your book trailer. Right up here is an audio button, so if I tap that, I have theme music that I can choose from. There's also sound effects that you can choose from. So I will be able to pick from many different choices of theme music that are free to use with iMovie, and I can listen to them, also seeing right over here how long they are. If they aren't long enough for my movie, it will just loop and repeat itself for the full length of your book trailer. So I can just go ahead and tap and listen and hear what they sound like. So you can listen to those, and whichever one you'd like, you just hit this little down arrow and it'll put it onto your timeline, the length of your book trailer. So it's real easy to change your music or add. Remember, again, if you don't like something, all you have to do is tap on it and get the yellow frame, and then just simply hit the trash can that appears right down here in the bottom corner, and it will trash whatever item you don't want anymore on your timeline. Many of these settings my students forget as they are creating their book trailers. So right up here there's a question mark, and when you tap the question mark, it's going to highlight throughout the entire screen on iMovie what all of the different features are to help your students understand all of the different icons. So they can read what everything will do just by clicking on that little question mark. And if they click the question mark a second time, it'll take all of the little yellow highlights away. Here are just a few more settings for your students to check out. Right down here there's a little wheel. When the students tap on that wheel, the project settings load, and they can choose right here to turn on or off some of the settings. So perhaps they want to just have the theme music chosen, then they wouldn't have to go up to audio and choose a different one. They could just choose their theme. They can also choose to fade in from black, fade out from black, and then the speed can change the pitch. Another icon right here, which is really nice, is a little microphone. The microphone will let the students actually record their own voice over a picture, so they could read the text out loud. So you can see here it says ready to record, and all the student have to do is tap record and record their voice, and they could read the text out loud. And as you might imagine, there is a camera icon which takes the students directly to the camera and allows them to take a picture of something. So they could have hand-drawn pictures to put into their book trailer. Now that you've seen the movie choice, let's take a look at the trailer choice. Just like before, they have different choices right along the bottom here of different types of book trailers to choose from. So they can preview and watch these different book trailers and see if one suits their story and what they're trying to tell. When the students find one that they believe fits the book, they click right up here where it says Create Trailer, and the entire outline is going to look different. So what we have over here is something called Outline and Storyboard. This is where we are going to enter all of our text between these two tabs. Then we have our preview right up here in the top right corner. And right down here, we will tap an item to add to our storyboard. So where it says movie name, we simply put in the title of our book. As soon as I tap, it comes up with a keyboard and we can enter our title. For a studio name, I have them put the name of their school. And then most of this is going to be the students' names. I let them leave iTunes for the music, since music that we're using off iMovie is actually from iTunes and is free for us to use. Next, we're going to click on this tab right here that's called Storyboard, and here's where we add in our photos that we want. Each of these little gray boxes is going to be one of our photos or pictures that we created. Each of the blue highlights is going to be text that we're going to enter from our planning sheet. So I've entered my title, I've entered my author. Now to enter a picture here, I'm simply going to tap on that box. Over here I have photos, and I can go to my camera roll. I can find the picture that I want and simply tap on it, and it will put it right into the box just like you saw. It tells me how many seconds that will play for. I cannot change that setting, and I cannot add more pictures here. Like I said, with this book trailer option, you have less control over the settings. So next I'll go ahead and tap on my next text part, and I can add in my text. Then once again, I can tap on a gray box and add a photo. You could also add videos here if you let your students do videos. By simply tapping on a photo, it will add it to my storyboard over here, and I can see how many seconds it'll play. I often tell the students if it's short, you might repeat a photo or a picture several times over and over again, just so that it plays a little bit longer. So we often will add the same photo many different times. One setting the students do have control over is that Ken Burns effect. If they tap on one of their photos or pictures, it will give a highlight around it. And right over here you can see it says drag to position or pinch to zoom. So we can simply make that picture show up in the way that we want to. Right down here you can see there's a start and an end. So I can say this is how I want it to be at the start, and then I can tap right over here where it says end, and now I can zoom to show where I want this to end. And as this then plays, it will start here and end here. If I hit this arrow, it will play that particular picture and show me how that Ken Burns effect works. So when you're creating using Book Trailer, there are a few icons that are similar. They still have the question mark that helps you highlight all the parts on this so that you know what they do. This button right here will play your video full screen so you can see how it looks so far. We still have an undo button up here. And that's about it. The biggest thing to know is the storyboard is where you add all of your photos and text. But remember the outline where we just had all of our information? This will be played at the end of your book trailer, almost like credits are played at the end of a movie trailer. Alright, so I'm going to, below this video, show you both an example of a movie trailer and a book trailer so you can see how they both look. And I'll also make some suggestions, if you do not have iPads in your classroom, of other sites that will work to make book trailers for your students. Once the students have completely finished their book trailers, on the iPad right here is a button that they can tap, or you could do this step for them, that shows the different options of where to upload the book trailer to. I have used both YouTube and Vimeo. You can also simply save the video or put it in iTunes. You can delete it if you click on the trash can, and of course this is to play it. Well, I'm sure there's some things I forgot to mention or something I didn't cover that maybe you're wondering about, so feel free to leave me a comment and ask me anything you'd like to. Until next time, I hope you find yourself healthy and happy and things are going well in your classrooms. We'll chat again soon. Bye everyone.